like we thought it would? Can everybody have the right information at the right time? And does everything look good for docking? So there's a lot to do between now and tomorrow morning when they will actually dock with the space station. And it's kind of like a ballet up in space. They'll be sort of like catching up with the space station. They're in orbit a little lower than the space station, and so they go around a little faster, and then they will actually do a burn to catch up with the station. And that ballet happens over the next 19 hours.
Christina, talk to us about Doug and Bob right now inside of that capsule. Are they navigating the capsule, or essentially is it on autopilot being controlled and they're sort of worrying about everything else?
It should be on autopilot. One thing about the SpaceX Crew Dragon capsule is that it could be completely automated throughout the mission, including rendezvous and docking. And it is the first of its kind to actually do that. Now, they do have the ability to take over manually, and because this is a test mission, they're actually going to practice that ability and test it out both near and far from the International Space Station. So they're not necessarily driving, but they're paying very close attention to how those automated systems are responding. As you can imagine, when it just pops off of the end of the rocket, there's no guaranteed orientation or attitude. It has to use all of its systems to figure out where it is in space, how it's oriented in space, and make sure that it's, belly down and nose forward going around the Earth. And so Bob and Doug are making sure that all those systems are working great. They're ready to react in the case that anything doesn't go as expected. And hopefully they're just watching all those systems come online nominally, even including the life support systems. They're in a closed loop life support system situation right now. Everything just went through a lot of vibrations on launch. So hopefully they're just watching everything come up nominally.
We actually also have that moment we spoke about earlier, the reusable rocket that we heard you mention. It landed back on a ship at sea, and we have the video. We want to show that to you now because this was one of the selling points for NASA and SpaceX. They promised they could do this. It took them a while, but they figured it out. And I think we do have that clip if Dave DeCinti can show it to us now. This was just the moment right after it landed back on that ship. And you can still see some of the thrusters there as we see some of the smoke come off the bottom of the rocket. But an incredible moment, an incredible technology. And Katie, as you watch this, does SpaceX impress you more and more as you've sort of seen their journey from once they got into the space race and what we've seen today?
Absolutely. I mean, I love that they bring things that are new ways of thinking, new ways of doing, and, they and the NASA team have figured out a way to work on this together, which, takes, I think, being brave enough to say, this is what we see, this is what we can do, and NASA going, well, that is a different way, and vice versa. And so it's a pretty cool partnership, and yet it actually paves the way for other partnerships as well.
And Steve Ganyard, wanted to bring you back in just to get a sense of what that partnership means, and was it necessary, in your opinion, for spaceflight to reinvent itself for the 21st century?
Yeah, I think if Elon Musk were with us right now, he would tell you that SpaceX has stood on the shoulders of NASA. And to Katie's point previously, this is a public-private partnership. So you're taking the best of government and the best of the private sector, and together, that's the triumph here today. This is the triumph that's going to drive the cost, increase the safety, reliable launch to orbit that's going to allow us to put colonies on other planets. So to do that, we required the best from the private sector, the best from the government, and that's how we got to this launch today, and that's what the future will be.
And give us a sense just again of why NASA is no longer launching astronauts itself. I mean, why involve private firms?
Yeah, government. If we look at the COVID response, right, not great. So if we leave things exclusively to government, they aren't as agile. If you go to the private sector, they're faster, quicker, better, cheaper. But you need government in something like this, where big science, very expensive big science is involved. And so this partnership between NASA and SpaceX, and in the future, there's lots of other companies that are involved here. It's not just SpaceX. We have Jeff Bezos and Blue Origin coming along here. He's nipping at the heels of Elon Musk. And Jeff Bezos is spending $1 billion with a B of his own money to get to the moon. And you have these competing visions where Elon Musk wants to go and put a colony on Mars, and Jeff Bezos wants a colony on the moon. And so you have these two entrepreneurs, the richest guy in the world and the 31st richest guy in the world,